spook easily stung.
Have you ever explored the depths of fear? Have you ever wondered what depravity dwells within the imagination of a storyteller that prompts them to exhume horrors untold and expose those horrors to unsuspecting audiences? Some are repulsed, and some are shaken. However, there are those who are invigorated. So to those demented souls, we invite you to journey inward into the dark bowels of human imagination. Press play, and you will discover what's in the podcast.
I finally found a place where I belong. Now the crickets are chirping and it won't be long. Hey, Joe Bob, give us the totals, cause we need it, bro. We need some blood moves, straight up move. Hey, Joe Bob, give us the totals, gonna hear us shout. We got 4 stars, check it out. I'm a terror horn, any second floor. I ain't never gonna change who I am. So if you wanna be free, you break away with me. Welcome to the mutant town.
And we are back with a edition of What's in the Podcast, one to which we spotlight a driving force in the horror fandom, a vital, in my opinion, force in the horror fandom, and I would even say an important force in the mutant fam. I met this wonderful gentleman during my times when I was just becoming one with the mutants on Twitter, and he asked, he did a big old cattle call who wanted to be involved with his latest endeavor, a song called Hey Joe Bob. I pretty much jumped at it because it was the quarantine and I really needed to do something. I didn't know the man from Adam, but I'm really glad I jumped in that day because he had me on. And what came then is probably one of the best things to ever happen when I joined the Mutant Fam, was when I became friends with this insanely talented musical comedy artist, one to which has been a regular fixture every night on The Last Drive-In, but also has been a source of joy on YouTube because he has brought about, every time he brings out a new song parody, sometimes even an original, and every time I make it appointment viewing, the second I see your face pop up on YouTube, I'm like, oh God, Jeff did something new. I gotta see it. So this epic talk up all is due to the fact that he has his first album, crowdfunded album, Stabby Road, coming out on the beginning of September on Bandcamp. So got here to talk about the history, the path leading up to it. I've talked him up enough. I'm actually going to let him talk this time. The one, the only, Mr. Jeff Whitmire. Thank you for coming back to Narcotic Casserole.
Yeah, thank you for having me. That was quite a sell. I'm touched.
But I have no experience as a publicist. That was the first go. So anyone who watches this, saying, "Hey, that guy, he's got the maxi. He could be a publicist."
I agree. I support that.
So the one thing I like to always ask of all my guests on What's in the Podcast, specifically, for the start, tell me your origin story.
Horror origin story.
Yes.
Origin. My origin story. Well, it's pretty much in Hey Joe Bob, actually, but the song you were one of the songs. We need to point out that Narcotics actually been on 3 videos now, I think 3 or 4.
I want to say 3. I want to say 4,
3,
but I think 3.
Checked in Hey Joe Bob,
and All Hail the Male Girl. Well, yeah, but okay, 4 if we count my contribution to Stabby Road.
Oh, yes, but they haven't heard that yet. They haven't heard that one yet. But yes,
they have not.
But I got started in horror very early. It was pretty much commonplace in my house. My parents, for some reason, like looking back now, they're not horror fans, but we were always allowed to watch it. It was never like taboo. And so I remember, being young. I always say Halloween '78. I'm pretty sure it was my first film. It's the one that It's the one that brought me to the dance. And it was my brother and I especially, we would always grab the new releases. We'd have them on VHS and we'd go to the video store and they'd have a lot of times the mom and pop stores would have 5 videos for $5. And so we'd go there to the video store and we just whatever cover looked cool this week. And
during that time, man, those covers looked awesome.
And to be fair, it hasn't stopped because I find myself, I do voodoo a lot lately, more than anything. Voodoo, Screenbox really, but Voodoo, I'll just go and they'll drop new VOD rentals, and I find myself just going, that's a cool cover. That's a cool cover. 40 years later, I'm still doing it. But that was I would go there and I would grab 5 movies and just loved it. Found so many gems that way. Would get to go to the theater and watch, but I'm Thanksgiving, family Thanksgiving. My cousin would go to the store and rent, Friday the 13th or Halloween or Nightmare on Elm Street. And that would be a family movie for Thanksgiving. It was weird, but it was fun.
But nowadays it'd be Blood Rage.
Yeah, now would be Blood Rage. Why didn't we ever do Blood Rage for Thanksgiving? Actually, yeah.
Well, probably wasn't available at the time.
It is cranberry sauce.
It's totally correct. Well, it could be just a special recipe.
Right.
Now we've talked about your origins of your love of horror, but now we need to talk about what your start as a musician. Like, how did you get started and how did you evolve as an artist?
Music and horror kind of went hand in hand as my 2 big loves. Like, I loved music from a kid too, from a child age too. All genres, all decades. I just love music. I love horror. I love music. I was in choirs. I was in band from an early age. I remember having a little tape recorder with my cassette, and I would write songs. The originals too, and I would be writing songs and recording them and everything. I always envisioned of having an album from the age of like 7 or 8. I wanted to go into music as I got older, but I know, especially back then, even still now, there's always that, your parents and family and everyone, they want you to take the safe route. They want,
take the safe route.
Take the safe route. And so I took a different path, but doing music and making music has always been a huge love of mine, in some form, and singing and performing, being on stage in front of people and singing is a big deal to me. I love it.
And to my knowledge, don't you have a pretty primo gig coming up at some point?
2, but I can't talk about the one yet. There's actually 2 coming. Yes. I hopefully I can share that one soon.
Okay.
But we'll come back and share that one.
We'll go. Yeah.
when it gets official. But I'm actually going to be performing at FumFest in October. The weekend of the Jamboree, actually, unfortunately, but being able to get on stage and do an hour-long show of horror music, I mean, that's gonna be awesome.
Okay. Yeah.
And I've had some mutants who have said they're not going to the Jamboree, but they live in the Ohio area, so they're coming out, and I'm like, mini mutant meetup, nice.
Yeah. There we go. I'm just gutted one way or another that I'm not gonna be able to see you at either or, just because that just seems like a blast. Just be there to see you do your work. So one thing I found fascinating when I backtracked through your YouTube channel, you actually just got started doing just commentary on songs that were kind of like commentary on what was going on YouTube. I remember you were very outspoken against certain YouTube personalities, in your early stuff. So what led to the transition of into strictly horror comedy music?
It was never intended that I was even going to have a YouTube channel. It started because of the fall of a website, the Big Channel Awesome website. And so I'm actually, good friends now with a lot of the people that were on that site, which is very cool. But it started with that, and I wrote the song and I dropped it, and people were eating it up and commenting on it. I said to my wife, I guess I got a YouTube channel now. So I originally started writing like comedy music, again, mostly parodies, about everything, about pop culture and Jason Momoa and Star Wars and things like that, which are also big loves of mine. I'm a nerd, so I have a lot of interest. But so I was just doing that, and in the meantime, I'm still watching horror. I'm still loving horror. But what really changed it was 2020, the pandemic. Spend a lot of money to make the song sound good. I don't produce my own stuff because I don't think it sounds as good when I do. So and it's not legal to use a karaoke track. So I will pay someone to you can't if you can't put it on an album, which is why you'll hear when Stabby Road comes out, a lot of the songs, even if you've heard them on YouTube, are totally different versions, and they sound better. But yeah. So a lot of the stuff on my YouTube channel, I'll drop a karaoke track, I'll sing it, I'll produce it myself, and it's not something I can legally put on an album and sell it. So I was spending all this time and money and sleepless nights doing it, even though I love doing it. But the pandemic hit and was, going through the months, and I was like, what is even the point of this? Is it even worth doing this? Even though I love it, I'm finally doing what I want to do. Like there was definitely a point where I was going to quit and I was going to stop. And I've told the people this who made the movie, but at the end of July, 2020, a little movie came out called Host on Shudder. And and I watched it and I loved it because one, it's a fantastic movie. It's a truly great, scary found footage movie. But also the mere fact that they did this in quarantine, they found a way to make this movie.
Yeah.
At that time, I said, what's my excuse? If they can do this, what's my excuse not to do what I love? And I actually wrote, because of course Host is about Zoom. Around that time Hamilton was making the circuit, the room where it happens. I was like, the Zoom where it happened.
Sailing got delivery, maybe aubergines, but I'm perturbed. Ringtone.
Who's on that phone?
I don't know.
These writers like to mess with our heads, I suppose.
Cause it all starts good.
And shit all goes atomic.
I've got more anecdotes.
But Pornhub's a no
faux show.
No!
No one else was in the Zoom where it happened. The Zoom where it happened. The Zoom where it happened.
And I sat down and I wrote the lyrics and I did a video.
An epic video.
Well, actually, the first one, I got to go down the track. I wish I hadn't deleted it. There was a first version of Zoom, and it was just me doing all the parts.
Really?
It was me doing everything. Yeah, maybe I got to post that again. But it was just me doing all the parts and everything, and I posted it. And Jed Shepard, the writer of Host, and Salem Baxter started, and all the cast were commenting and retweeting it. I was like, oh my god, holy crap! And it really made me think, there's my connection. There's what I can do music about something I love so much, which is her. And so actually and around that time that was happening, like the 1BR crew said, well, where's our song? And so I was like, okay, I guess that's my next one. So I did a 1BR song, which is going to be on the next album. But I was like, I gotta do a better video. I gotta give Zoom the version that it deserves. So I started reaching out to people and said, can you come join in? And it became this big epic thing. And Salem Baxter came on board, and that was one of the coolest experiences.
That was amazing. I mean, I had already been enmeshed in like all your other work, and then I went back and I'm like, Zoom where it because I had just saw Hamilton, because of course they released the film version of the production, so I knew the song finally. Because I always I'm even though I'll listen to any of Weird Al's parodies, I like it better when I know the song beforehand. It's better that way. So when I saw that you did the Zoom where it happened, I was like, and I immediately got, oh, you're doing it based on Host, aren't you? And then I jumped in it. Well, the second I saw Salen, at first I'm like, is that pre-recorded footage? It's like, oh my god, no, she's actually singing it.
she actually asked me. It was such a crazy experience because I had done videos before and everything. I don't consider myself a director or a visionary when it comes to the film media, like the video. But when she said she wanted to do it, and actually I have a photo of when she came into the Zoom meeting when we were planning the song. I had her come in last and people were all shocked when she came in. But when we were talking about the video, she says, do you want me in the same outfit in the same room? And I'm like, hell yeah, I do.
Oh, that just made me love Salen so much more. I mean, so when I saw her in her little cameo in The Boogeyman recently, I geeked out. I was like, oh my god, Salen. Salen.
I was panicked when the day that we were going to film her footage. She texted me. She said, "Are you ready to go?" And I'm like thinking to myself, "No, no, I'm not." And we got on a Zoom just like this, and we're doing the footage and everything, and how we were going to do everything. And she kept dropping ideas like I should slip out, like when I'm going for my groceries and I should go have a drink. And I'm like, okay.
Yes.
And she just kept coming up with these ideas. And when it was just like, okay, let's do a retake. She's like, okay, just tell me what you want me to do. You're the director. And I'm like, you're doing fine. I'm just I'm just gonna be here.
That's great.
But it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
As time went on, I mean, let's go to our fateful meeting when you did Hey Joe Bob. Like you alluded to at the beginning, that song a lot of it was heavily autobiographical, and also one of your originals. So,
yes.
What was the lead in for that particular song?
I had done one original prior to that because I really do want to do original music. So I love parodies, and I know a lot of people that do parodies. But I think every artist wants their voice on a song too, even if you are a parody person. Even
Weird Al does originals.
He does lots of originals. He does whole tours of just his originals, and so I definitely wanted to try and I've always considered myself a lyricist, but I wanted to do that. So I did my first original was actually Love Theme from Friday the 13th, which I did as a camp song with lots of harmonies and everything. And I'm, was really proud of that. I said, I got to do another one, and I got to do a Last Drive-In song. And I had this melody floating around in my head, and I said, this is what it needs to be. This is the melody it should be. So I reached out to my producer and who does the music, and I said, can we do something with this? Because we hadn't done anything like that before. And he came up with this track, and he sent it back to me, and I'm like, that's perfect. I'm like, all right, I can work with this. And so I took the melody that I had and I started working with it and put the lyrics together. I said the one thing we needed though is I wanted a bridge where I just kind of sang stuff. I said that's the one spot where I feel like we need some music people new. And originally the original music was actually going to be Goblin. I originally wrote it to I think it was Tenebrae or Suspiria, one of the two.
It was Suspiria. It was very Suspiria like.
And I originally wrote it that way, but it just quite wasn't gelling, and I said, what can we do with the Halloween theme?
My whole life was jaded, but fought-hard and baited. A shot in the arm, now I'm reanimated. My ship is on course cause I'm turning the rudders. He trapped me for but I'm free, utterly shudder me. Pain couldn't stand it, the flame we all fanned it. Ignited, united like crazy chilly bandits. Devoured the rattle, spit out of no fear. Then finished the bout with a cold blow so near.
And he went back and reworked it, and we put that in there. But so it came together. And I've gone back and listened to Hey Joe Bob, and I'm still so damn proud of that song.
As it should be. Well, not just for how amazing that song is, but frankly, I think I love it because of when it was released and when it seemed like the Mutant fam just embraced the hell out of that song.
I do think it was the turning point. Kirk from the Mutant fam will sometimes mention how I had, I think, like 300 followers when I dropped that song, and it just blew up after that. And he likes to take credit for that, as he should, because he scooped it up and he started running with it on the Mutant fam account, and which I'm so grateful for, because and then shortly after he asked me to host an episode. But I think it was, for me, I just really wanted to tap into that feeling of what it's like to grow up a horror person who's not always understood, and to have found a place where we all get together every Friday night, and it's a huge, big damn deal that we do that.
Especially during the quarantine, that was a blow to everybody on a social and even ultimately a sanity level, because there are so many people who were desperate for some kind of connection. And here was Joe Bob, here was Darcy, here was an actual legitimately good use for Twitter.
Right.
I'm not calling it X.
No, I'm not either. I can't.
I was flying blind when I volunteered to jump in on there. And to be dead honest, I mean, I recorded my bits, listened to the song, loved it naturally. And I just jumped in and I just recorded my bits. I did not expect to be like popping in there right next to Angel Mellinson too. I was
that talked to me too. And at that time, she still wasn't with Fangoria. And
now not only is she with Fangoria, she's like one of the faces of Fangoria.
Right. I like the joke that I knew her before she was famous, and
because this is like one of the times you could actually say yes.
And
now she's hosting segments on the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards, and damn. And I'm so glad for it, because she's fantastic. She's amazing.
And she really, like, everyone that came to do that, you and Graham and Angel,
Ruby
and Ruby and Papa Wolf, everyone who came to that one just really came with their A game. I still go back and I watch that video and I'm just like,
So
I get a smile every time.
oh, so do I. It was like the first time I really felt embraced by the Mutant fam, and a lot of it really came down to you. And then pretty promptly afterwards, we were all attending like regular rewatches of the last drive-in off season. Like all of us just kept gravitating back to each other, and it just became like something much more beautiful, something in the spirit of the Mutant fam. So and to me, I like to attribute that it all came from you.
I appreciate that, but I mean, I tend and by by the train, I attribute it to Joe Bob and Darcy, and like,
of course,
just those little things like that, like the line where you're in the video, holy fuck, a Darcy retweet.
It's a legendary, very scary life retweet, and just my luck, holy fuck, a Darcy retweets, yeah.
I still to this day will see people get so excited when they get that Darcy retweet, and I'm like, it's a big thing,
I think it's like at the end of every drive-in night, we all should do like our own personal drive-in totals, like tweets posted, Darcy retweets. Like I think my record is 3 Darcy retweets in one night. I think.
Yeah, I've had some solid nights there too. Yeah. When Joe Bob retweets too, that's always a bit of a shocker because he's not as active on it. That's
exactly, yeah. Or even just when he likes something that blows your mind because he's not as active, and he doesn't have to be. He doesn't. Again, that's right. That's true. Now I remember seeing footage of you actually singing "Hey Joe Bob" to Joe Bob and Darcy. How was their reaction to that?
Scariest moment of my life. I was gonna do it at the Jamboree. I posted I was gonna do it at the first Jamboree at the Mahoning, and we got up into the line, and Darcy, we're talking, and Darcy even says to me, she's like, "Weren't you gonna sing a song?" And I was like, "It's really loud in here. I chickened out," and I didn't do it there, and I was kicking myself the whole drive home that I didn't. So I vowed the next time I saw him, I was going to do it. Sure enough, Monster Mania rolled around in Philly, and I got up and handed the camera, Sarah Sinful Sarah.
Yeah, Sinful Sarah.
She took the camera because this is the second time we had hung out, and she says, "Oh, I'm going to film this." So she took the phone. And I asked Joe Bob. He looked panicked. Oh my God, the look on his face. You can see it in the video. He's like, yeah. And even Darcy kind of knows him, and he's like the song, but yeah, I sang it to him, and the smile on his face as I was getting into the chorus and everything was just so cool. He knew what I was going for, and he did the fist bump at the end, and they really seemed to dig it. And then Darcy gave me a hug afterwards, and she's like, "You rock, man." And I'm like, "Thanks."
That's our mail girl. So in the time since, you have done so many insanely brilliant parodies. And honestly, one of the major things when I pimp you out to people, I'd say it's ballsy to parody one Lin-Manuel Miranda song. It is. You had
done it twice.
one. You had one per each ball. When you did. We don't talk about Bruno, but you did "Ain't No Walkies for Cujo." That must have been just a complete lyrical roller coaster because there are so many levels on that song.
Yeah, that's why I brought in Christina Melissa because I knew I was going to need to bring in some forces on that one to really sell it. And that one actually does need another version. It's going to be on the next album because that is sitting on a karaoke track, so I can't use that one. So we just at the time didn't think I could get it reworked for Stabby. But I do love that song, and it was so much fun to kind of get into the zeitgeist right there when the song was popular. I knew I wanted to do a parody of it. I didn't know what to do. And then one day I think I was listening to a podcast or something, a Stephen King podcast, and they mentioned Cujo, and I'm like, there it is. It's right there. And,
the King. Was it the King? Was it the King cast?
Yeah, it might have, but I think it was probably the King cast. They were actually talking to or talking about D. Wallace and everything, and it just jumped in my head. I ran home and I just started writing.
What motivated you to just finally decide, what, screw it, I'm making an album?
I just really wanted to. I thought I had reached a point where I had so much stuff out there and was really happy with it that I really wanted to package it in a way that people could hold it in their hands and pop it into a CD player. And originally, I mean, I was going to be content to just, slap versions on and send it out and not sell it. Still all the versions I had before. And just do it that way. Because I actually have, and as we realized quickly, I have enough songs for 2 albums right now. I had to make cuts from Stabby Road, and that thing's 77 minutes long.
Well, you had Stabby Road, maybe I Swallow Your Soul as a play on Rubber Soul.
Yeah, we always said Let It Bleed would be one.
Yeah, Let It Bleed.
And that Let It Bleed was a strong contender for the next album title, but then one day, because VHS is going to be on that one, and
okay,
I decided one day I was thinking, I was like, direct to video. I'm like, I love the title direct to video, and that became the title for the second one.
Gotcha.
Because it's such a horror movie phrase, but yeah, I wanted something to do. I knew I would have to rework songs. I knew I'd have to do songs people haven't heard. There were originally going to be 4 songs people hadn't heard on Stabby Road, but I couldn't wait on the Shark song. When everyone was talking about Shark Week and everything, I was like, I got to drop this thing now. And so I did break my own promise and drop one. But there's 2 other brand new songs, and then plus the big
finale.
The big finale.
I did not know what you were doing until I started when you said.
I realized that you never realized that was the whole picture. Yeah,
you just called me and asked me to record this one bit, and I think it was
one bit in 17.
Well, because you told me, I guess because you saw me do The Rest of Silence, and I guess when I finally listened to the finished product, and then I made the correlation, Stabby Road. You bastard.
And it wasn't gonna be that. The name Stabby Road actually came from the Civil Gore guys. One day they just DM me, and the Civil Gore guys are a fertile wealth of ideas. They're the reason Final Girl exists, actually. They'll just randomly shoot out ideas in DMs, and one day they just DM me and they said Stabby Road, and I said, yes, that's the album.
So you've alluded to the fact that you had to rework all the songs that are now featured on Stabby Road from their original.
About half of them. Some of them on YouTube. Yeah, some of them on YouTube were already finished products. Zoom I wasn't gonna change, even if I could. Hey Joe Bob and All Hail the Metal Girl Queen, they were already studio versions. So something if Love Theme from Friday the 13th actually got a real mix instead of my version on YouTube, and I changed a few lyrics on that. But nice. A lot of them had to be reworked because they were on karaoke track. So I changed vocals, changed lyrics. I barely ever occasionally changed lyrics. I brought in backing vocals and musicians on them. So yeah, a lot of them had to be reworked to be on the album.
So when the time came when you had to crowdfund that, how quick was the response on it? Like, how quick did you get the funding that you needed for it?
Really quick. I think we reached goal in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It was a month. It was going to be a month, but we reached the goal before that.
Nice.
Yeah. Now we did have a huge boost, and he's always said he's okay with me telling this, but a big chunk of it came from Alex. All right.
All
right. Yeah, he actually DM'd me one day and said, I want to help you. And I said, oh, great. Thank you. I appreciate that. And he's like, here's how much. And I was like, oh my.
Oh dear.
So he was really a big supporter, and but that said, I mean, I think we had 75 backers. So there were a bunch of people that, there's the 75 albums right there. But yeah, I think we had 75, 77 backers around there, who just absolutely awesome. I got panicked as we were doing it because,
No, just saying, me too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yes. And
first opportunity I got, jumped on it.
Yes, absolutely appreciate it. We had that $50. I had a $50 tier where you could pick any movie, and I'd live tweet it. And I got really scared as I saw how many of those were coming through. I was like, I'm going to be doing this all year.
you're at that point when you don't think that you're going to have the reach, and you think it's something you can manage.
I
and then
still
you're
don't.
like,
I still don't believe it.
Yeah.
Like I still cannot believe that happened. I still can't believe how many people listen to what I do. So it always is amazing to me.
I mean, I'm no expert. I mean, Lord knows if I were, I'd figure out how to get that reach too. But frankly, the way I see it, when you do something so legitimately great, and
I think it was
an
just
audience.
I think it was a lot of lightning in a bottle moments. I think the fact that Barbara Crampton heard Reanimator and retweeted it and liked it, and the fact that Tony Todd heard Final Destination and retweeted it. I think those little things, not little, those are big, but they helped too. I did a Ruby show the one night, and she had Kelly Baroni on, and I remember, and she's like, oh, Jeff's in the audience. Do you know Jeff? And Kelly Maroney goes, oh yeah, I know Jeff. And I'm like, oh my God, what is happening?
I admit my brain would go. Actually, my brain tends to go off when people who I don't expect to know me like say,
right.
Oh, yeah. It's like
it's shocking to me now, the names in the movie industry that know who I am from doing this. It's always baffling and humbling, but yeah.
After I got out of Spooky Empire and I met Damien Leone and David Howard Thornton, like the first thought, because you had released Art the Clown.
Oh yeah, that Art the Clown can slice the mean fillet. But what that Art the Clown has meant his match today. He loves, stops, drops her pop. He thought he had it locked until she chopped off the block. Yeah, that Art the Clown has lost his final bout.
Which they retweeted. Damien retweeted it, and I got a DM from Darcy after that saying she shared it with Chris Jericho, and that just the response to that one, and that's the reason that Outwaters came about.
We came out here among the drifting sand just to film a little bit and get a tan. Yeah, but we can't need another plan. Now I wanna fucking pack up my things and get real gone.
Because Screambox, I tell this story, I think I'm allowed to now. Screambox DM'd me and said, we got this movie coming out. We heard what you did with Art the Clown. We were wondering if you could do a song before the Outwaters drops. And so that became a trailer. And so it was like, this is insane.
Bless you, for being able to decipher anything about that movie in order to.
I first of all, I did it more as a trailer, so it was easy because I was able to base it on the trailer. I do love Outwaters. I've actually seen it a lot, but I know not everyone.
There's some people are Skinamarink people, some people are Outwaters people.
I'm actually both. I'm both.
I'm a Skinamarink person, strictly Skinamarink.
But the long story, that's why I got that song, is because I got a DM like they're going back to that. They're like, we heard the Art the Clown song, and so yeah, it was just those little moments kind of keep happening now where the connections are happening.
This actually kind of leads me to another question regarding the future of Jeff Whitmire beyond Stabby Road. And I know I've come to you proposing this because frankly I think you'd be wonderful for this. Would you ever endeavor to bring your art to the theater in terms of basically creating a musical?
I've been writing a musical for about 5 years.
Really?
Yes, I actually have been. I keep going away from it because it just seems like such a big project, and then this whole happened and I kind of went with the snowball. But yeah, I would love to do that. I'm a huge musical fan. I'm a huge theater fan. I would love that. So I do have one, or we've talked about ideas too.
But I still maintain you're the person I want to help write my Frankenhooker musical.
Yes,
with me, and also help me finish my Manos musical.
Right. I just met Patty this year.
You met
Mullen this year.
Oh yeah, Patty is such a joy.
Oh yes, that was so awesome.
Yeah, Patty. Is it there? Patty right back there.
There's Patty back there. Yeah, my Patty
right there. There's Patty. Well, actually, she's also like right there too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But the Patty. But even I talked to her about the idea of doing a Frankenhooker musical, and she thought it would be a hilarious idea.
Yeah. Well, apparently when they showed it at the Mahoning, they said afterwards she sat and watched the whole thing. Like she came out and introduced it and did all the stuff, and apparently she sat down and watched it with everybody.
Yeah.
So cool.
such a sweetheart. So
And I just seen Doom Asylum that day too, and I was like, I wanted to mention that to her because I'm like, that's actually a really good movie too. I like Doom Asylum. Everyone talks about Frankenhooker, but that was a good one.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. All right, so you've talked about the idea of that. You've talked about the fact that you've already got a second album in development. So I mean, I hate to do this to you, particularly since everyone's always like talking about when are we going to see the sequel when the first one still hasn't even been released yet. But do you have like kind of a projection as to when we will start?
I think next year. It's not going to take me as long to do this one because working really heavily with Two Sleeps, and Two Sleeps and I have a very smooth working relationship with how we're doing songs now. And I think we did Cenobites, one of the biggest songs I've done.
Pinhead is here with Butterball and they're +2. And don't you misconstrue, they're gonna bring such pain and pleasure you.
We did that in less than a week. VHS. We just when we did VHS and everything, and All Hail the Mailgirl Queen. We just have this really solid relationship, much very casual. I don't think it's gonna take us long. I'm actually working on 2 albums right now. Direct to video, and I'm working on my first album of original music.
Oh, really?
Cool. Yes, which is more serious. There are some humor moments. It's not a horror album, but I've written about 25 original songs, and my friends in music and everything keep saying you've got to put that out. Like you got to do it. That's your voice right there. That's the other stuff. I have a song in there about living with OCD and songs about my kids and things like that, and then some goofy fun songs as well. But yeah, so I'm working on 2, but I anticipate they'll both be out pretty quick.
One more thing I have to give praise to you before we sign out. It's one thing to do a parody, but to do a parody of a song by a known parodist. Is especially inspired when you did VHS. And actually I did not, and thank you for doing it, because another thing I always try to endeavor to do, if it's a movie I have not seen, I actually endeavor to go out and binge or watch or binge. In this case, I had to binge all 5. So that way I would understand all of them. I didn't even know what it was you were parodying.
Another great reaction from that crew too. Like the actors, the directors from the movie, the producers, Brad Miska. Like the reaction to that one really blew me away.
I just love that. I love the irony of the fact that you parodied Weird Al's UHF, and it's one of his originals.
Completely deliberate. That was always on my mind. I think you broke the running joke is the Weird Al. The running joke is Weird Al horror, and I'm like, well, what better way to do that than to do a horror parody to a Weird Al original song?
One day, ere my path ever crosses Weird Al again, I will tell him. I have a friend who doesn't. I'm going to tell him all about you.
I'm on his radar. I was on his. I don't know if he's heard that one. He hasn't responded, but he did. I did write. This is the second time I've written a parody to one of his originals. I also did Weird Al in Sarasota. Tickets for Weird Al in Sarasota. That's
right.
Which is a long one which has like 55 references. And he did like that one. I know he saw that one. So
So I guess to wrap it all up, first off, tell everyone where they can obtain when they can obtain Stabby Road.
Stabby Road is actually now available for pre-sale on my Bandcamp page, which is jeffwhitmire.bandcamp.com. You can order the physical copy, or you can order the digital copy. It is dropping on September 1st. We're working on the packaging now, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. And then you can find me where I drop my songs on a general casual basis on YouTube, Jeff Whitmire 47.
Fantastic. And also follow him on Twitter, naturally. Twitter handle right here. But since this is a podcast, also tell them your
what is my Twitter? It's at Jeff Whitmire 1 on Twitter.
Is it? I think it's like, I thought it was like Jeff Whitmire.
No, it's Jeff Whitmire 1. Yeah. I never changed it. It was what they gave me and I never changed it.
Is it? Yeah, Jeff Whitmire 1.
It's Jeff Whitmire 1, yeah.
Okay. I thought it was Jeff Whitmire 47 or something like that. Who am I thinking
That's
of?
usually where the 47 shows up. But yeah.
Okay. All right, Jeff Whitmire 1, because you are number 1 in my heart, good sir.
Thank you.
All right, so for everyone else, definitely rush over to Bandcamp and pre-order that shit because it demands your attention if you have not heard it. And if you want a tasty sample, go to his YouTube channel where some of those juicy bits are going to be are there, and you'll buy it on principle. So for that, Jeff, naturally, I hope to see you pop up again multiple times on What's in the Podcast, just to shoot the shit about everything we love about all things bloody, gory, and horrific. Yeah,
Sounds
the fun
good. I will
kind.
Yes.
In fact, probably a lot sooner than we expect. So in the meantime, for everybody, thank you for joining us. And when you are thinking about what goes on in the depths of human imagination, think about this. What's in the podcast?
She'll answer every